Uh, well, hello. What is it about habits that make them so persistent? When I was 16, I started drinking some coffee on my on my free periods during high school, and I've pretty much had the habit ever since. I mean, there's been times where I drop off some, but uh, I realize now that I'm working here, I have a salon down the way, and they serve coffee, so it's so convenient. When I had my shop down the street, I started drinking coffees in the morning again, but all day I would just have tea. I wouldn't drink coffee. And it's Saturday morning, it's after 10, they should be open, but I walked down there with my empty coffee cup and locked doors. So I've been meaning to get back on the tea tip and get off the coffee, so here we go. Habits. Habits, as Hafez says, are human nature. Why not mint some? Why not start some that will mint gold, he says. Habits can definitely be healthy. In fact, you couldn't get very far in life without habits. But habits can also hold us back. It's this peculiar thing in human nature to take devilish pleasure in things. And, it's fun, right? We got our little sandbox of life. And we do things. And it's fun. Yeah. Well, get immersed in sense pleasures. But don't forget your tether to the divine. Because ultimately, you're just an agent for God. Agent for God's experiences. And if you get wrapped up, it's like putting God's fingers in a finger trap. You have a responsibility to God to not get entrapped. You can enjoy. You can drink deeply in this life. But just keep that little spark of knowledge in the back of your mind that we are not of this world, really. We're just in the world. We're playing in the world. But, it's always a paradox in this realm. It just is. And part of that idea of taking part in the world but being separate from the world somehow, it almost gives you a license to just be bad. Just do bad things and run amok. Because it all works out in the end. God's not going to let any of his little sparks escape. That's what he's got all his helpers for. And so really we are safe in that regard. We can't run off the edge of the earth, as it were. But there's something so mysteriously loving in this realm. Something we're destined for. Something we're supposed to be doing. But no one knows what it is. That's why we need our habits to be ferrying ourselves to the right place. Because intuitively, we all know what is good. Intuitively, we all know what is righteous. I know, cultural conditioning, blah blah blah. I don't buy into all that. I think the natural order. You look at the animals. You look at the way they're socialized. You look at humans. We're an evolved, socialized creature. Part of that socialization, social nature, is to have groups, honor your groups. I think that it may just be a survival thing, but not really. I have faith. I have faith in some sort of something. It's so mysterious. You can't put your finger on it. So many people just disregard it. What is it that I'm talking about? I guess it would, in most common language, be our relationship with the divine. So we're living human lives. We have habits. The great ascetic yogis, they teach that you remove all desires. You just remove them all because they're dross. They're like bugs on your windshield. You can still drive, but it's a lot better if you get those bugs off. So, the ascetics say, remove your desires, and God will be naturally luminous, naturally evident. For a lot of people, though, the path of meditation, the path of ascent, as it were, we're taking along a lot of baggage. I've got a life. I've got friends, I've got occupations, interests, desires, pursuits, ambitions. And so, theoretically, I could just let all that go in one fell swoop. Yogi Josh. But it's unlikely. I've got this momentum. And most likely, I will go to my grave with some level of involvement in the world. Okay, so what do? Well, sometimes the best thing to do is let your body, let your cravings be fulfilled. In the long term, yes, we want to get rid of our desires. But in the short term, for the sake of peace of mind, sometimes it's best to have a glass of red wine and a piece of chocolate. Sometimes it's best just to have your little ritual of coffee in the morning. But having coffee in the morning, I'm not saying it's bad for everybody, but because it's such an automatic boom, boom, boom for me, every morning I just do it. I just make coffee. And then, like during the day, I go get more coffee. It's becoming, I feel like it's getting a little out of my control. I'm a control freak by some standard. And so I want to feel in control of my habits. So I'm curbing that. But getting back to the point, to let your creature comforts be fulfilled on a small level, to give you peace of mind so that you can have greater depth of understanding, that's not bad. That's just functioning with your vehicle. I mean, take your car for example. I know we're much more complex than cars, and it's not exactly one-for-one analogy, but the car needs stuff. It needs oil changes. If you neglect that, the car is going to break down. The body needs maintenance. And where is the line between maintenance and luxury? It's not a clear-cut line. I grew up in America. We inherited this Protestant Christian belief set. I mean, I grew up Catholic, but America as a whole has this idea that austerity and Christian values is the right path. That it's unhealthy to indulge in sense pleasures. It's just ingrained in our culture. Clearly, we've broken out of a lot of that, but we still have that bedrock framework that we work from and within. Say what you like. Having traveled, I come back to the United States and I just thank the Lord that I come from a culture as clean and frankly compassionate as I do. They say a fish would be the last one to discover water because it swims in it all the time. And so coming from middle America where everybody has basically what they need and traveling around the world to India, to China, to South America, I've seen that that it's not just opulence that allows people to be giving, but there's a certain Christian brotherhood, if you will, a Christian do unto others that we take so for granted that we don't even notice it. I mean, there's a lot of atheists who say you don't need God to be good. I call them Star Trekians because they follow that humanist model of like good for good's sake, or this sort of thing. And I don't correct them, but in my mind, in my perceptions, I see that they're standing on the shoulders of these centuries of Christian development. The idea that we're good enough. You know, it's kind of a paradox right there, because a lot of Christians, the whole idea is that you're not good enough. You're going to go to hell if you're not gooder. Get gooder or you're going to go to hell. These people on the corner over there, I feel sorry for them. Half of me wants to thank them, and the other half says, oh. They're confused. But we have habits. It's a mystery, life. If you intuited a point from what I said, leave a comment below. I appreciate you. God bless you. Om Ram Ram.